Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I took a quick 2-week hiatus as I was preparing for my actuarial exams, but I should be back on track now with roughly weekly uploads, but I'll let you know if there's any delay in the future. But today's video is one of the key behavioural economics concepts that I'm really passionate about and that I find really interesting, and that is nudge theory. So you may or may not have heard of nudge theory, but I'm going to explain what it is, who uses it, why it was so vital during the coronavirus pandemic, and why it led to the UK's absolute cock-up of face masks and PPE. So nudge theory is a theory in behavioural economics that positive reinforcement can subtly influence the behaviour of an individual or a group towards a certain output. Now, the best way that I can put this in simple terms is that you can basically nudge somebody without them noticing in a certain direction so that they'll pick something that you want them to pick. So, it may be something as simple as putting things at a certain level in a shop so that your eye catches them, or designing your packaging in a certain way that attracts people's attention. Or maybe suggesting to people that they should go and like or subscribe rather than like and subscribe. I'd still say do both. So nudge theory is an incredibly powerful tool, and in fact, governments and companies around the world have different teams dedicated to developing processes, advertisements, marketing and sales strategies with just the right nudge to get you to buy, sell, or do exactly what they want you to do without you ever knowing that they had an input. Now, nudge theory is certainly not a new concept. People have been nudging other people to do the thing that they want them to do since humans had the choice of free will. We've always been trying to manipulate each other to perform in a certain way, but actually putting a name to it and pinpointing what it is that makes a successful nudge is something that came about in around about 2008 with the book Nudge, Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth and Happiness. So this book proposed that those people who design the layout of different choices, for example the order in which food appears in a canteen, are choice architects, and they have an intrinsic ability to be able to nudge you towards a certain output. And as such, they can create design campaigns that nudge people in an incredibly powerful way without people ever really being aware of it happening. So nudge theory is something that goes on every day and you won't even be aware that it's being done to you. If you want one of the most simple and yet obvious versions of nudge theory, just think about the little fly that was introduced and painted onto urinals in men's toilets. This was done to improve aim, and the fly was placed not arbitrarily, but in a position that had been scientifically researched as the point that reduced the splashback in men's urinals. So that little fly has more purpose, other than just something interesting to look at while you pee. And nudge theory isn't just some haywire, wacky idea that's out there and people don't listen to. Nudge theory is really powerful and is proven, and there are governments that build entire boards or teams of nudge theory specialists in order to design their campaigns to ensure that they get the most votes, or the people's approval, or improve their ratings in the 18 to 25 category, or the 60 and above category. In fact, since 2010, the UK government has had the British Behavioural Insights team, dubbed as the Nudge Unit, as part of the UK government, and this team are entirely responsible for looking at the way that the government phrase different propositions in order to make sure that they get the right response out of people. Now, unfortunately, nudge theory can also be applied completely incorrectly, and this is one of those times where the UK government did it wrong, but this is during the coronavirus pandemic. At the start of the pandemic, you may remember that the UK government were very weak in their way of saying that you could wear masks if you were out in public, you should social distance but you don't have to, and most importantly that indoor spaces could remain open so long as the people felt they were safe. These were subtle nudges that were attempting to influence the way people thought, so that people would make a conscious decision themselves to separate, social distance and wear face masks. The issue is, the message didn't quite get along. You see, the thing that the British government didn't take into account was the fact that people like freedom and they don't like nudges which put them towards something that they didn't really already want to do. See, nudge theory works really well if there's already a slight inkling that you might go for something. So the best example of nudge theory that I think matches this is called buy level. So this is where different height shelves in supermarkets cost more to have your goods displayed. If your food is displayed at eye level, there is a significantly higher chance that a person will pick it than if it's at the bottom level or on the top level of different shelves. And this is why if you look at your supermarket the next time you go, you'll often find the more expensive brand names are at eye level and the own brands tend to be at the bottom shelf. So nudge theory played a key part in the original cock-up of the UK government's mishandling of the coronavirus pandemic. And it's one of those chances where those choice architects, the people who design the way that these things are put out to the people, just got the situation completely wrong. This is why it's so important as a choice architect to make sure that the nudge you're creating is actually effective and pushes people towards the direction you want them to go, as opposed to away from it, in the case of face masks. One of the most interesting studies into the effectiveness of nudge theory and nudge design was conducted in the US in different canteens around schools. What was done was that the order in which different food appeared in the canteen was either randomized or selected by a choice architect or left the way it was originally. Now the choice architects decided that they would make a one-way system around the canteen and they would put healthy food in front of and also at eye level throughout the canteen, and the unhealthy food would come at the end once people had already started filling their plates with healthier food, or would be at a higher or a lower level, requiring more effort for people to actually access those items. And the results compared to the randomized and the control group? Well, in the canteen designed by choice architects, people were 2.5 times more likely to eat healthy food than in any of the other situations. So this is where simple design can be used to influence social behaviour en masse. You can literally design a canteen to make your workforce or your staff and pupils healthier. But nudge theory isn't just about putting things in people's faces in a certain order that they pick them. It's also about somewhat taking the power out of people's hands when it comes to certain decisions. So for example, auto-renew subscriptions. Now you may not think these are nudge theory, it's just something that happens. You pay for a monthly subscription and it rolls on. But actually, this is one of the strongest nudges possible, because the way that auto-renew subscriptions work is that you don't get notified when your subscription is up for renewal each month. The money is just debited from your bank account and you don't even notice it go most of the time. The only time you'll ever notice these subscriptions is if you go back through your bank statements and actually identify them. This is a fantastic nudge because it means that people have to actively make sure that they are making the action to cancel a subscription. And most people just won't do that. In fact, companies which introduce auto-renew subscriptions see a 25% improvement in the retention of their subscriptions over time. So next time you sign up for an auto-renew subscription or a free trial, you might want to set a little reminder in your calendar for 1 month's time or 6 months' time to just check if you're still using that subscription and cancel it and save yourself money. So what does this all mean? Why should you be aware of nudge theory? Well, as I just covered, with things like auto-renew subscriptions, you can save yourself money by being aware of the fact that there is a nudge in place and reminding yourself to take action to mitigate that nudge and cancel your subscription. But more generally, the useful thing about understanding what nudge theory is that you can then identify where you might be being nudged in everyday life, whether it's simple things like the order in which the food in your canteen appears, or the way that the marketing campaign that a certain company have put on the TV is processed. You can start noticing these nudges, and once you are aware that there might be a nudge behind it, you can identify the nudge and decide completely consciously whether you want to follow the nudge or not. So it basically puts the power back into your own hands. Now, nudges aren't just a bad thing. Nudges can be used in a very positive manner. As I said, in the canteen, healthy food 2.5 times more likely to be eaten if you put the nudge in place. That's a great thing because we can tackle obesity without actively having to tell people they need to lose weight. But there are also other benefits of positive nudge theories. For example, in the UK, automatic pension enrolment was introduced in 2012. And in 4 years, the number of people enrolled onto a pension scheme went from 2.7 million to 7.7 million. That's a huge increase in 4 years, and it means that more people will have access to additional funds when they retire. So it can be used to really positively impact the way people behave. But on the whole, the most useful thing about understanding nudge theory is that it's a tool that you can use if you ever find yourself in the position to be a choice architect and design your own nudge. Now with that said, you may have noticed various subtle nudges or not so subtle nudges throughout this video, and if you did notice them, then you might as well like and subscribe down below. After all, I have been telling you to do it for the entire video. But if you want to read more about nudge theory, I've also left an Amazon affiliate link to several great books about nudge theory in the description. If you click those, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but I get some commission for every time you buy a book. And as always, thank you for watching, If you are new around here, hit subscribe, comment down below if you did enjoy the video and what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.